here I am just getting ready for Patricia's first feed. Hi, kiddo. So this is the pump with the bag, and what you're going to do is just take the formula that should be already pre-mixed, and when you pour it in the bag, it does kind of suction itself closed on the back. So you've got to make sure you have clean hands, hand wash, and then sanitizer. And then you have to just kind of open it a little bit with your finger, just kind of push it open. You'll see it when you actually see the bag. So that it's open, and then pour the milk in. Then what you're going to want to do is make sure that you just kind of press the air out of the bag and put the lid on. Turn the pump on. There's just an on button on the top left here. And it should already be set to her rate, which is 305 milliliters an hour. So you just make sure that it says 305 ml -HR, and I'm just changing it right now from her night feed, which is obviously much slower. I'm putting it back up to 305. And then it will just say 305 on the screen. I know it's hard to see on the video, but when you actually see, you'll be able to see it. And then what you're going to do is the middle button here, you're going to push, it says prime. That's going to start running the milk through the tube. The biggest thing, you don't want to, of course there'll be tiny little air bubbles sometimes, but you don't want to put any air into her stomach. So you need all the air to be out of this tube. So you're just priming all of the formula through to the end of the tube. So now the formula is through most of the feeding tube, almost to the end. And what I have to do now is actually prime the extension that hooks up to her tube. So this bigger end hooks up to the tube. All you do is you just stick it in there. Don't push it, push it firmly, but don't push it too far because it'll tend to just pop out with any pressure. There are two holes, a big one for this and then a smaller one. Make sure that the other hole is closed, otherwise all the formula will just come out of this small tube. So just make sure that it's closed. That's happened to Chris and I many times where we've forgotten to close it. Usually you notice it right away because there's formula dripping all over the floor. Sometimes it takes a few minutes. And then I'm just gonna push the prime button again and just let the milk prime through the tube. The other thing, sorry, I should have mentioned, is that there's the clamp on the tube. This will hold, stop any liquid from going in or out. So if it is clamped, you just always make sure that it's unclamped and prime it. Otherwise, you'll push the prime button and it won't work. So as you can see, the milk is slowly, very slowly, getting to the end of the tube, and I'll just kind of show you how we let it go all the way to the end. And so we actually do it until like a drop of, you see the liquid came out, so it's like a drop comes out. So it's all the way to the end there. And then it's time to hook her up. There's two ways that you can hook her up. One is by having her on like a changing table close to this whole contraption and just hook her up, with this already connected. The other thing that you can do, which is what we usually do, is we clamp the tube so that nothing will come out, and then we just unhook it from here so everything's primed, no air, and then we just hook this up to her, put her in her chair, and then hook this up, and I'll show you how to do that in just a second. Okay, so here's Patricia, and here's her button. She always has a, she's pretty tolerant of us putting it on and laying her down all the time, so she's usually pretty good. If she's not, give her something like a book. She loves books, or a little toy that she can play with, and she's usually fine. So we always have a little cover over her button, but this is what it looks like without it. The cover just helps to, she has a lot of leakage. Sorry, that's kind of gross. But that's Patricia. She always has a lot of granulation, so we keep the cover to kind of catch the granulation. And it helps it just to kind of, stick where it is. So here's your book, honey. There you go. So to hook her up to the feeding tube, what you're going to do is you're going to open up this little flap. You just pull it open, okay? Oops, Patricia. And so now it's open. Nothing's gonna just come like pouring out, because there's a little piece in there that holds it. But here's her tube. And so what you do is you line up this line with the line that you see right here. And then you turn it in the direction of the arrow to lock it. Now the thing here, since she does have a lot of granulation, you can turn this tube around. It's fine to turn, it turns all the time. We try not to, I turn it often, but we try not to like just freely move it around and sort of pull it. And try and pull it, because it can tend to irritate her a little bit. So I usually just kind of hold it still right here. When you touch this is kind of a hard knob, how you would normally fill it up with the balloon with water. So what I do is I just kind of hold it steady. And you also do have to push a little bit to get this in. So it helps to kind of hold it steady so that you're not just like pushing into her stomach. Because even though it doesn't like really hurt her that much, it just bothers her. So anyway, I have the lines lined up here. Sorry, Patricia's putting her book in front of the camera. There we go. Okay. Oh, Patricia, you know what? Let's get a different book. Here you go, kid. Can you look at these sticky notes for a second instead? Look. Look. Can you look at those? What's that? Okay. So you have the lines lined up here, and you just stick it in. And when you do it, you have to push it down, just a little bit. You can see it go in. And then once it's in there, it will allow you to turn it. And so notice how I'm just holding this steady, Patricia. And then I'm holding this steady, and then I'm just turning the actual feeding tube, not her little button. Sorry. Just turning that tube there so that you can see it. Or sorry, so that it's connected. So just to show you one more time, trying to keep the book out of the way. So you just kind of push it in there, and I hold it steady with my other hand, and then you just turn it in the direction. I turn the actual tube like that and hold it steady so that it's locked into place, and then it won't turn anymore after you do that turn. See, it won't go any further. And then it's connected. Now, when she has her tube connected, it's extremely important that you don't let her tube, protect her tube so it doesn't snag on anything, because if it snags and pulls, it does hurt her. So just, kind of keep it in your hand so that it's not gonna get snagged on anything. So here's Patricia, finally her face, with her tube connected. Remember, don't let it pull on anything. And so we just make sure that it's always to the side before we put her in so that she's not sitting on it. And then we just get her in her high chair. There we go. Making sure it's not pulling. And then we just take this piece, open it up. Again, make sure that the other one, the smaller hole, is not open. And then we just put the line in like that. The next thing you're going to do is unclamp it. Remember, the tube will not work if it is clamped. So you just unclamp it so it's open. You turn the tube back on here. We usually kind of hang the long cord up, and the only reason we do that is just so that we don't trip on it and pull our tube. The dogs don't, come over and trip on it. So we usually just try and keep it up and out of the way. And then all you do, it's all set up. Always make sure it's at the right rate, 305 milliliters an hour. And then you push the run pause button. So you just push run, and now she started. She's unclamped, and it will run at the proper rate for her. And we usually take this and just kind of, just so it's not heavy, just set it kind of back there. And then to feed her, sorry, she has some scrapes on her face because she took a big fall yesterday. The poor girl. Was very brave though. We always give her something that's soft, like a banana that she can mush in her hands, that she can lick. So like banana, avocado, cooked squash. We always give her something that's kind of like a puree. This is yogurt. And we always give her something, it's called soft mechanical, the OT calls it, where these are those little chickpea crisps that she can put in her mouth. They're not like hard crackers, but if she sucks on them or gets a little piece, they just kind of like dissolve a little bit in her mouth. Any kind of the like Pirate's Booty puffs, those are fine too. She also does Ritz crackers. I'll show you kind of how we try and eat with her. However, usually her first feed in the morning, sorry about that. Usually her first feed in the morning, she's not too interested in eating. So we end up just kind of playing with her a little bit more, and I'll show you what that looks like too. So, sorry I'm not in the camera, but I'm the one talking here. But I'm just, also it's first thing in the morning, so I'm not really dressed yet. But I'm just gonna kind of keep the camera on Patricia here. So what we do is we just kind of try and play with the food, encourage her to put it in her mouth. Again, the first feed, she usually has not much interest, and we don't push her in any way. We never want to make her feel stressed out about it. So if she's just really not into it and she tells us kind of no, then we just sort of clean up the food and we sing songs, we play, and that's kind of what we do. So to get her to eat, what we do, or to at least her goal right now is to just kind of like taste things, and she's into licking. Right now she's really into spreading this yogurt. At the OT with OHSU, they do a lot of kiss. So we do like Patricia. Mwah! You wanna try? Mwah! Mwah! And then we try to bring it to our mouth to lick. Oh, you wanna hold both of them? Okay. Can you lick? Uh-oh, that spoon is out of control. Got him? There you go. He's all slippery now. Can you lick? Can you lick the spoon? Sometimes when she gets it on her fingers, sometimes she'll lick her fingers, and we just say, "Good job, Patricia," and lick, and you can just kind of model it for her with fake, licking. Even with your mask on, she still seems to understand what you're doing when you do the pretend licking and like showing her, put it in your mouth. She seems to still get that. And if she can sit at the table with other kids too, she's very observant, so she likes to watch, and she usually tries eventually what the other kids try. So it's great. And then this is her sippy cup that she is allowed to have. We usually give it to her at meal times, but sometimes she likes to have it at other times too. If she's kind of crabby and seems a little bit thirsty, sometimes we'll give it to her while we're just holding her or sitting with her for a second so she can have a sip of water. It is kind of hard to sip out of the straw, so this one tends to be pretty good for her. She knows how to do it all by herself. If she's interested in it, she has 2 of these cups. We'll send, one each day, but these ones tend to be fine for her not to aspirate. And if she does take a sip and it goes down the wrong tube, she usually just does, a cough or 2 to get it out, just like any normal person, and then she's fine. So it's not, there's never like large amounts of liquid, but typically she doesn't aspirate with this cup ever. So here, you want your cup? So I will stop the video here and come back when come back when the feed is over.